The pipe organ's crescendo filled St. Catherine's Cathedral as Sophia Martinez stood frozen at the altar, drowning in a sea of white tulle and expectations. 300 pairs of eyes watched, some misty with emotion, others narrowing with suspicion as she visibly trembled. The groom, Richard Blackwood III, heir to the Blackwood Hotel empire, smiled confidently, oblivious to her inner turmoil. "Dearly beloved," the priest began, his voice echoing against marble columns. "We are gathered here today." Sophia's heart hammered against her ribs as memories flashed through her mind. Her mother's endless reminders about the opportunity of a lifetime. The prenuptial agreement, thicker than a phone book. Richard's subtle but constant criticisms of her working-class background. The priest's voice seemed to fade into the distance as Sophia locked eyes with her best friend, Lucia, who sat in the third row. Lucia's expression said everything. "You don't have to do this. If anyone can show just cause why this couple cannot lawfully be joined together in matrimony," the priest continued, "let them speak now or forever hold their peace." The cathedral fell silent. Sophia's bouquet shook in her sweaty hands. Her voice was barely audible. She cleared her throat and tried again. "I object." Gasps erupted throughout the cathedral. "I object to my own wedding," Sophia said, louder. This time, Richard's confident smile transformed into a look of utter shock. "Sweetheart," he whispered harshly, "what are you doing?" "Something I should have done months ago," Sophia replied, kicking off her painful designer heels. "Being honest with myself." With that, she hitched up her $75,000 gown and ran, not walked, down the aisle, ignoring her mother's horrified, "Sophia Maria Martinez." As she passed, the heavy cathedral doors felt surprisingly light as she pushed through them into the bright June sunshine. A waiting limousine idled at the curb, their getaway car to a 5-star honeymoon. The driver's eyes widened as she approached. "Alone. Ma'am, is everything—" "Can you take me to the train station?" Sophia asked breathlessly. The driver hesitated, glancing back at the cathedral doors where confused guests were beginning to spill out. "Please," Sophia added. "I'll pay double." "Where's Mr. Blackwood? Getting exactly what he deserves. Someone who'll actually love him someday." She slid into the back seat. "Now drive." The limousine pulled away just as Richard emerged from the cathedral, his face contorted with rage. In the rearview mirror, Sophia watched her almost mother-in-law faint dramatically into the arms of bewildered bridesmaids. At the train station, Sophia fumbled through her tiny bridal purse. No credit cards. They were all in her overnight bag, already en route to the Maldives. Just $43 in cash and some mints. She approached the ticket counter, drawing stares in her rumpled wedding gown. "One ticket on the next train," she said. "Anywhere." The ticketing agent raised an eyebrow. "Destination? Surprise me." "That's not how this works, ma'am," Sophia sighed. "Fine. Where's the next train going?" "Brookhaven. Leaves in 7 minutes." "Perfect." As she settled into her seat, still attracting curious glances from fellow passengers, Sophia kicked off her remaining shoe and exhaled deeply for what felt like the first time in years. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages. Her mother, bridesmaids, even Richard. But she silenced it and stared out the window as the city scenery gradually gave way to rolling countryside. She had no plan, no luggage, and apparently no common sense. But as the train rocked gently along the tracks, Sophia felt something she hadn't experienced in the 3 years she'd been with Richard: freedom. Little did she know that in Brookhaven, a coastal town she'd selected purely by chance, fate was arranging a collision course with a man who would change her life forever. A man who, at that very moment, was storming out of a beachfront property negotiation gone wrong, vowing never to return to the quaint little tourist trap again. Sometimes, running away from the wrong thing leads you directly to the right one. Ethan West slammed his Tesla's door with enough force to make his assistant wince. At 34, he'd built West Innovations from his garage into a multi-billion-dollar tech empire, but today's property negotiation had left him fuming. 14. "$1 million for that decrepit hotel," Ethan growled, loosening his tie. "It's highway robbery." His assistant, Miles, tapped furiously on his tablet. "The Brookhaven Grand has historical significance, sir. The town council won't—" "I don't care if George Washington slept there," Ethan interrupted. "I'm not paying double market value because some locals are feeling nostalgic." The sleepy coastal town of Brookhaven had been Ethan's secret getaway since childhood, when his family, before his parents' fortune, would rent a small cottage each summer. Now he'd planned to transform the aging Brookhaven Grand into a luxury tech retreat center, but negotiations had collapsed spectacularly. "Schedule the helicopter for 4 p.m., Ethan instructed. "I've wasted enough time in this town." "The helicopter's grounded for maintenance, sir. Next train leaves at 7. Ethan checked his watch. Noon. "Perfect," he muttered sarcastically. "What am I supposed to do for 7 hours?" "There's a lovely cafe by the station," Miles suggested. "Great pie." "Fine. Drop me there and handle the accommodations cancellations." 30 minutes later, Ethan sat alone at Rosie's cafe, nursing black coffee and stabbing at a slice of blueberry pie he was too irritated to enjoy. The quaint establishment buzzed with lunchtime patrons, none of whom recognized the tech mogul. In their midst, exactly how he preferred it. The bell above the door jingled. Every head in the cafe turned as a disheveled woman in a wrinkled wedding gown stumbled in, her hair falling from an elaborate updo, mascara smudged beneath exhausted eyes. "Table for 1, she told the startled hostess. "And please don't ask." The only available seat was directly across from Ethan. As the bride approached, he deliberately raised his newspaper barrier. "Is this seat taken?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan lied without lowering the paper. "By whom? Your imaginary friend?" The woman pulled out the chair anyway and collapsed into it. "Look, I've had a day, okay? Just pretend I'm not here." Ethan lowered his newspaper, a cutting remark poised on his lips. But it died there. Despite her raccoon eyes and messy hair, the runaway bride was stunning. "Rough wedding?" he asked instead. She laughed, a genuine, unrestrained sound that made several diners smile. What gave it away? The dress or the look of sheer desperation? "I'm leaning toward the single shoe." She glanced down at her stockinged foot. "Oh, God, I didn't even notice." A waitress approached, eyeing the bride with undisguised curiosity. "What can I get you, honey?" "Coffee, black, and whatever dessert will pair best with crushing disappointment." "The apple crumble," Ethan found himself suggesting. "It's life-changing." The bride studied him for the first time. "I could use a life change." "Apple crumble. It is." After the waitress left, an awkward silence settled. Ethan, typically guarded with strangers, surprised himself by breaking it. "I'm Ethan." "Sophia," she replied, offering a hand with chipped bridal manicure. "Sophia Martinez, former bride, current train wreck. Running away or running toward?" Sophia considered this. "Away, definitely. I objected to my own wedding 3 hours ago." "Bold move." "Stupid move. I have no plan, no luggage, and—" She rummaged through her tiny purse. "Exactly $27 to my name. $27 and 1 designer wedding gown," Ethan pointed out. "I think I technically stole this, and the groom's family limo." Ethan couldn't suppress his smile. Grand Theft Auto in Tool. That's a new one. The apple crumble arrived, and Sophia's eyes widened at the first bite. "Oh my God," she moaned. "This is better than my ex-fiancé, in every way. Lower bar than you'd hope for dessert." They fell into surprisingly easy conversation. Sophia, it turned out, was a children's book illustrator who'd met Richard at a charity gala. The whirlwind romance had quickly morphed into pressure to conform to his family's rigid expectations. I became a project for them to fix, she explained, gesturing with her fork. My accent, my family, my career, everything needed upgrading. Ethan nodded, understanding all too well. People see money, not the person. Exactly. You get it. She tilted her head. What do you do anyway? Tech, he said vaguely, unready to reveal his identity. Small company stuff. Well, small. Company tech guy. You've been a surprisingly good therapist. She checked the cafe clock. Oh no, I've monopolized your afternoon. I've got nowhere to be until the 7 o'clock train. Sophia brightened. Me too. I mean, I have no idea where. I'm going after that, but the same train. A wild, utterly uncharacteristic impulse. Seized Ethan. Want to kill time together? There's a coastal path with a view that might help with perspective. Sophia hesitated, then smiled. Sure, why not? But fair warning, I'll be turning heads in this getup. I've got a hoodie in my bag. It's not high fashion, but better than a billboard announcing runaway bride. As they left the cafe together, Sophia swimming in his oversized hoodie over her wedding dress, neither noticed the cafe owner snapping a photo. By tomorrow, tech billionaire and mystery bride would trend across social media, reaching the last person Sophia wanted finding her, Richard Blackwood III, who had just placed a substantial bounty for information on his missing fiancée. The coastal path stretched before them like something from a painting, rocky cliffs on one side, endless blue ocean on the other. Sophia took a deep breath of salt air, feeling more alive than she had in years. So, Ethan asked as they walked, what's next in the grand adventure of Sophia Martinez? She laughed, stepping carefully in her single shoe. That's the million-dollar question. I've got a tiny apartment in my name that Richard doesn't know about. My sanctuary for when his family became too much. Smart woman. Not smart enough to avoid this whole mess. She gestured at her dress. But I do have my work. I can illustrate from anywhere. Ethan looked genuinely interested. Children's books, right? Any I might know? Ever heard of Luna the Brave Little Moon? Ethan stopped walking. Wait, you're... that. Sophia Martinez? My niece is obsessed with those books. The very same, she made a little curtsy, though the Blackwoods thought children's illustration was cute, but not a real career. That's ridiculous. Your work is incredible, Sophia studied him. For a tech guy, you know a lot about children's books. I read a lot, Ethan said evasively. They reached a wooden bench overlooking a lighthouse. The sun was beginning its descent, painting the ocean gold. For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence. What about you? Sophia finally asked. Bad day at the office? Something like that. A business deal fell through. And now you're stuck in Brookhaven with a wedding fugitive. Lucky you. Their laughter mingled with the sound of crashing waves. As the conversation flowed, Sophia found herself increasingly drawn to this mysterious man, his thoughtful questions, his genuine interest in her work, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled. Can I ask something crazy? Ethan said suddenly. Where are you headed after this train? I honestly have no idea. Back to the city, I guess. Hide out in my apartment until the scandal dies down. Ethan hesitated. I have a beach house in Montauk. It's sitting empty this weekend. Are you offering me a place to stay? I'm offering you breathing room. The guest house is completely private. Take a few days to figure out your next move without pressure. That's, Sophia faltered, really generous. But why would you help a stranger? You're not exactly a stranger anymore. And I have a feeling about you, Sophia Martinez. You deserve better than hiding in a tiny apartment. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Sophia was about to respond when her phone, silent for hours, suddenly exploded with notifications. That's weird, she murmured, checking the screen. Her eyes widened. Oh my God. She turned the phone to show Ethan. On screen was a viral social media post. Tech billionaire Ethan West spotted with mystery runaway bride. Billionaire? Sophia's voice rose. Small company stuff? Ethan winced. I may have undersold things slightly. You're the Ethan West? West Innovations? The youngest person on the Forbes 400? In my defense, you didn't recognize me, because you said you worked in small company tech stuff. Before Ethan could respond, Sophia's phone rang. The screen flashed. Richard. She declined the call, but another immediately followed. Then another. He's found me, she whispered. But how? Her question was answered by a new notification. A news alert about Richard Blackwood III offering a $50,000 reward for information on his kidnapped fiancée. Kidnapped? Sophia sputtered. That manipulative? We need to go, Ethan said, suddenly businesslike. The train station will be swarming with reporters and anyone looking for that reward. What am I going to do? Panic edged Sophia's voice. I can't go back to Richard, but I can't exactly disappear. I have a life, work commitments. Do you trust me? Ethan asked. Sophia hesitated, studying his face. Despite having just met him, something instinctive told her she could. Yes. Strangely, I do. Ethan pulled out his phone. Miles, change of plans. Ready the jet at the private airfield, and bring a change of clothes. Women's, size small. We're leaving in 30 minutes. Sophia's eyes widened. Private jet? Welcome to my world. Ethan stood and offered his hand. Ready for a real escape? As they made their way through a hidden path away from the main road, Sophia's mind raced. What was she doing? Running away with a billionaire she'd just met. But the alternative, facing Richard's wrath and public humiliation, was unthinkable. At a secluded parking lot, a sleek black SUV waited. Miles, Ethan's unflappable assistant, held the door open, barely raising an eyebrow at Sophia's attire. The jet is fueled and ready, sir, and I've brought several outfit options as requested. As they sped toward the airfield, Sophia glimpsed camera crews already setting up outside the train station. News traveled fast in the age of social media. By tonight, she would be the scandalous bride who left a hotel heir for a tech billionaire. Where exactly are we going? She finally asked, as the SUV turned onto a private road. Montauk, as promised, Ethan replied. But not directly. We need to throw them off our trail. I suggest a quick stop in Boston to create confusion. This is insane, Sophia murmured, looking down at her crumpled wedding dress. 24 hours ago, I was getting my makeup done for what should have been the happiest day of my life. Ethan's hand found hers. And now? Now I'm a fugitive in a stolen dress with a tech billionaire I just met. She couldn't help but laugh. Either I'm having a nervous breakdown, or this is the most exciting day of my life. Why not both? Ethan grinned, and despite everything, Sophia felt her heart skip a beat. What she didn't know was that Richard had already hired private investigators determined to reclaim his runaway bride and his family's pride at any cost. 3 weeks had passed since Sophia's dramatic wedding escape. Ethan's Montauk beach house being a modest term for the glass and cedar masterpiece perched on the Atlantic, had become her sanctuary. From the guest house's sunlit studio, she'd completed more illustrations for her next book than she had in the 6 months with Richard. Creative renaissance? Ethan asked that morning, bringing coffee to her workspace. Sophia looked up from her tablet, hair messily pinned with paintbrushes, something like that. It's amazing what you can accomplish without someone constantly reminding you that real adults don't color for a living. Their easy companionship had blossomed in the isolated paradise. During days, they worked separately, Sophia on her illustrations, Ethan remotely running his empire. Evenings were spent walking the private beach, cooking together, or simply talking until stars blanketed the sky. Neither mentioned the growing attraction between them, though it hung in the air like summer lightning, powerful, inevitable, and slightly dangerous. "I got you something," Ethan said, placing a small package beside her coffee. Inside was a pair of worn leather sandals. "I noticed you've been wearing my old boat shoes since the dress." "Are you saying my fashion choices aren't cutting it?" she teased, though touched by the thoughtfulness. "I'm saying you deserve shoes that fit, even if they're not designer." Their eyes met, and Sophia felt that now familiar flutter. Before either could speak, Ethan's phone buzzed. "Miles, probably the Tokyo deal," he said, but his expression shifted as he read the message. "Sophia, turn on the news." On the television, Richard Blackwood stood before a bank of microphones, his mother stone-faced beside him. "After extensive investigation," he was saying, "we have reason to believe Ms. Martinez was coerced into leaving our wedding by Ethan West, a business rival who had previously threatened our family's hotel investments." "What?" Sophia gasped. Richard continued, tears glistening in a performance worthy of an Oscar. "We were naive to believe their meeting was coincidental. Evidence suggests Mr. West planned this abduction to sabotage both our wedding and our company's stock price, which has indeed suffered since this scandal broke." "This is insane," Ethan muttered. "I've never even met this guy." "But you did try to buy the Brookhaven Grand," Sophia said slowly, pieces clicking into place. "Which his family also wanted for their hotel chain." The reporter asked, "Mr. Blackwood, are you suggesting industrial espionage?" "I'm suggesting worse," Richard replied gravely. "My fiancée discovered potentially damaging information about West Innovation's business practices. We believe that's why she was targeted." Sophia muted the television, hands shaking. "He's lying. All of it. Complete fabrication." "But convincing," Ethan said grimly. "My company's stock is already dropping." "I'm so sorry. This is all because of me." "No." Ethan's voice was firm. "This is because a spoiled heir can't handle rejection." Sophia paced the room. "I need to come forward. Tell the truth." "And say what? That you ran away from your wedding and happened to meet me? The media will twist that even worse." Miles called again with increasingly concerning updates. West. Innovations board members were demanding explanations. The SEC was asking questions. Richard's family had filed a civil suit. "I have to return to New York," Ethan said reluctantly. "Face this head on." Sophia nodded. "I'm coming with you." "It'll be a media circus." "I know, but I won't let you face this alone." The flight to New York passed in tense strategy discussions. By the time they landed, social media had exploded with Team Richard and Tao's Team Ethan hashtags. Their private driver navigated through paparazzi to Ethan's Manhattan penthouse, where his legal team waited. "Ms. Martinez," his chief counsel greeted her, "we've prepared a statement for you to—" "No," Sophia interrupted. "No prepared statements. I'll tell my own story." While the lawyers argued, Sophia slipped away to Ethan's home office. She pulled out her tablet and did what she did best. She created. Hours later, when Ethan found her, she was surrounded by sketches. "What's all this?" he asked. Sophia showed him a rough children's book storyboard. "It's called The Bride Who Found Her Voice. You're going to illustrate our story?" "Better. I'm going live with it tomorrow on my professional accounts. My fans, parents, teachers, librarians, they'll share it. The truth, told my way." "That's—" Ethan's face broke into a smile. "Brilliant." The next morning, Sophia posted the illustrated story of a bride who ran away from a controlling groom and found unexpected friendship with a kind stranger. The final page showed the bride standing tall, proclaiming, "My story is my own to tell." It went viral within hours. Richard, unprepared for this counter-narrative, fumbled in subsequent interviews. When evidence emerged of him bribing staff at Rosie's cafe for the original photo, his credibility crumbled. 2 days later, Sophia and Ethan held a simple press conference. "I left my wedding of my own free will," Sophia stated clearly. "I left because I deserved better than a relationship built on control and appearances. Meeting Ethan was coincidence, the best coincidence of my life." As cameras flashed, she reached for Ethan's hand. The irony is, in fabricating this conspiracy, Richard created something real. Ethan and I have grown close. We're exploring that connection privately and honestly. Ethan stepped forward. And to address the business allegations, West Innovations has nothing to hide. We welcome any investigation. 1 week later, the scandal had largely subsided. Richard's family retreated to Europe. West Innovations' stock rebounded. And The Bride Who Found Her Voice was being adapted into a full children's book already, commanding a 6-figure advance. "So," Ethan said as they sat on his penthouse terrace overlooking Central Park, "what now?" "Well," Sophia smiled, "I still have that tiny apartment. You could stay here. Moving in together after 3 weeks? Scandalous." "I meant the guest room," Ethan clarified, though his eyes suggested otherwise. "Or you could come back to Montauk. Your studio misses you." Sophia looked out at the skyline. "I think I need to stand on my own for a while. Find my balance after all this." "I understand," Ethan said, disappointment evident despite his smile. "But," she continued, "I wouldn't be opposed to dinner. Regular, normal dating, if billionaires do that sort of thing. I could pencil you in." "How generous." They laughed, the tension breaking. As sunset painted the city gold, Sophia realized something profound. In running away from a false happily ever after, she'd found something. Better herself. 6 months later, The Bride Who Found Her Voice topped bestseller lists. Sophia's tiny apartment had expanded to a Brooklyn brownstone she purchased herself. Richard had married a European countess in a private ceremony, and Ethan had finally convinced Sophia to join him for a second visit to Brookhaven. As they walked the same coastal path where their adventure began, Ethan stopped at the wooden bench overlooking the lighthouse. "Remember this spot?" "How could I forget? This is where my world exploded. In a good way, I hope." "The best way," she affirmed. Ethan took a deep breath. "I bought the Brookhaven Grand." "You did? After all that drama?" "I did, but not for a tech retreat." He handed her an envelope. Inside were architectural plans. The historic hotel, reimagined as a creative arts center, with a children's literature wing bearing her name. "Ethan, this is too much? Presumptuous?" "Perfect," she whispered. As they sealed this new chapter with a kiss, neither noticed the cafe owner snapping another photo. By morning, it would headline local papers, "Runaway Bride and Billionaire." Return, a true Brookhaven love story. Sometimes the most unexpected detours lead exactly where you're meant to be.